Amina's cane tapped against the polished school tiles as whispers followed her down the hall. "The blind girl is here again," someone snickered. "She should just stay home." She pretended not to hear, but her grip on the cane tightened. Every step was a battlefield. Suddenly, a shoulder slammed into her. Her books scattered across the floor. Laughter erupted. "Oops, didn't see you there," Minji sneered, her friends giggling behind her. One of them snatched Amina's math notebook. "Give it back!" Amina's voice trembled, but her chin stayed lifted. "Or what? You can't even see me." Minji laughed, uncapping her drink. Cold liquid splashed down Amina's uniform. She froze, humiliated, her body trembling as laughter echoed. Then, another voice cut through the noise. "Enough!" The hallway fell silent. Hyunwoo stood there, his jaw clenched, his sharp eyes locked on Minji. He bent down, gathering Amina's books carefully before offering them to her. "Are you okay?" His tone softened as he guided her trembling hand to the notebooks. Amina's lips parted, but no words came. She couldn't remember the last time anyone had asked if she was okay. Minji scoffed. "Hyunwoo, why waste your time on her?" "She doesn't belong here." Hyunwoo's gaze hardened. "Maybe you're the one who doesn't." Gasps filled the corridor. No one ever spoke to Minji like that. Amina's heart raced. She couldn't see his face, but for the first time in a long while, she felt seen. At lunch, the whispers only grew louder. Why was Hyunwoo defending her? Do you think he likes her? Amina sat alone at the far end of the cafeteria, her uniform still damp from the soda spill. She kept her head bowed, cane resting against her chair, trying to make herself invisible. But then, the sound of a tray sliding across the table startled her. "Mind if I sit here?" Hyunwoo's voice. Calm, steady, too close. Her throat tightened. "There are other seats." "I don't want other seats." The cafeteria buzz shifted. Every eye was on them now. Minji slammed her tray down nearby, fury burning in her voice. "Hyunwoo! You're seriously sitting with her?" He didn't look at her. "Yes." Gasps rippled across the room. Amina's fingers fumbled with her spoon. "You don't have to do this," she whispered, cheeks burning. "I want to," Hyunwoo said firmly. Then he leaned closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Don't let them decide where you belong." Her chest tightened. For years, Amina had taught herself to move quietly, to endure silently. But now, someone was daring her to exist loudly. Minji stood, slamming her chair back. "Fine. If you want to ruin your reputation for a nobody, go ahead." She stormed off, her posse following. Amina's lips trembled. She didn't know whether to thank Hyunwoo or beg him to stop. The next day, Amina tried to slip quietly into class. She told herself yesterday was just a mistake, that Hyunwoo's kindness would fade once he realized how much trouble she brought. But she was wrong. As soon as she sat down, Minji's laughter rang out like a blade. "Careful, everyone! The blind girl might trip and fall again." Snickers filled the room. Amina gripped her cane tightly, willing herself not to cry. Then the door slammed. Hyunwoo walked in, his presence shifting the air. He stopped in front of Minji's desk, his gaze cold. "Enough!" Minji's smirk faltered. "Why do you care so much?" "She's nothing," Hyunwoo's voice dropped, every word deliberate. "She's not nothing." "She's braver than anyone in this room," gasps echoed through the class. Whispers hissed like fire. Amina's cheeks burned, her hands trembling beneath the desk. "Braver?" Minji sneered. "She can't even see." Before Hyunwoo could respond, Amina's voice cracked through the tension. Quiet but sharp. "Maybe I can't see," she said, lifting her chin. "But at least I don't walk around blind to my own cruelty." The room fell silent. Hyunwoo's lips curved into the faintest smile, pride flickering in his eyes. Minji's face flushed scarlet. "You'll regret this," she spat before storming out, her heels clacking like thunder. And in that charged silence, Amina realized something terrifying. Hyunwoo hadn't just defended her. He had chosen her. The humiliation Minji suffered in class burned hotter than fire. She couldn't stand the thought of Hyunwoo, her Hyunwoo, choosing the blind girl over her. That night, she gathered her two closest friends, their voices hissing in the dimly lit cafe. "She embarrassed me," Minji seethed, "and tomorrow she'll pay for it." The next day, Amina felt the sting of whispers following her down the hall. Students moved aside, some snickering, others staring. She tightened her grip on her cane, her chest heavy. Something was wrong. At lunch, she found her usual corner empty. Too empty. Chairs scraped. The air shifted. Then suddenly, splash! Icy soda drenched her uniform. Gas filled the cafeteria. Amina froze, soda dripping down her arm, her hands trembling. Laughter erupted around her. Minji stood in front, holding the empty cup, her smirk cruel and sharp. "Oops," she mocked. "Didn't see that coming, did you?" The room roared with laughter. Amina's lips parted, but no sound came out. She wanted to vanish. But then, Hyunwoo was there. His tray clattered onto the table, his hands shaking with fury. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around Amina's shoulders, shielding her. "You think this is funny?" His voice thundered, eyes blazing at Minji. The laughter died. Minji's smirk faltered. "This is bullying," Hyunwoo snapped, his voice echoing. "And if anyone thinks it's acceptable, they'll answer to me." The cafeteria fell dead silent. Hyunwoo didn't wait for the whispers to spread. He guided Amina out of the cafeteria, his hand firm around hers. The hallway was silent, except for the hurried sound of their footsteps. "Hyunwoo," Amina whispered, her voice trembling. "You shouldn't have done that. Now everyone will—" "I don't care what they think," he cut her off, his tone sharper than she'd ever heard. "You don't deserve any of this." They stopped outside where the breeze carried the faint scent of cherry blossoms. Amina's wet uniform clung uncomfortably to her, but Hyunwoo shrugged off his blazer, draping it over her shoulders. She hugged it close, her heart pounding, not just from the humiliation, but from the warmth in his voice. "I'm used to people laughing at me," Amina admitted softly, her lips trembling. "But today, it hurt more." Because it was about you, Hyunwoo turned to face her fully, his gaze fixed on her even though she couldn't see it. "Don't ever think you're less, Amina. Not to me. You're stronger than anyone in there." Her breath caught. Nobody had ever spoken to her like that before. Silence hung between them, heavy yet fragile. Then Hyunwoo gently lifted her hand, pressing it to his chest where his heartbeat thundered. "Do you feel that?" he asked quietly. Amina nodded, her cheeks warming. "That's what you do to me," he whispered. By the next morning, the entire school knew. Whispers followed Amina down the corridor like shadows. Some girls sneered openly, while others giggled behind their hands. But the worst came when Hyunwoo entered class. His own friends, the ones who usually laughed with him, fell silent. Minho, his closest buddy, leaned across the desk. "Hyunwoo, are you out of your mind?" he hissed. "You embarrassed yourself for her?" "A blind girl who doesn't even belong here?" Hyunwoo's jaw tightened, but he didn't answer. When the teacher dismissed them, Minho grabbed his arm. "Your father's name means something. Do you think Chairman Kang will be proud if he hears you're ruining it over some charity case?" The words stung, but Hyunwoo yanked his arm free. "Say whatever you want, but don't you ever talk about her like that again." Meanwhile, Amina sat quietly in the library, tracing her fingers along the edges of a worn Braille book. She could hear the snickers from a nearby table, the whispered insults that weren't even subtle anymore. Her chest tightened, but she pressed her lips together, refusing to cry. Then came the sound of footsteps, firm, certain. Hyunwoo's hand found hers beneath the table. "They'll get louder," he admitted, his voice low. "But so will I." The Kang mansion was always cold, but that evening it felt like ice. Hyunwoo's footsteps echoed across the polished marble floor as he entered the study. The heavy doors shut behind him, locking him in with the one man who controlled his future. Chairman Kang sat in his leather chair, every inch of him sharp and commanding. His gaze lifted from the newspaper, and Hyunwoo felt the weight of it like a blade. "Hyunwoo," his father began, voice calm, too calm. "I've heard troubling things about you." Hyunwoo swallowed. "If this is about Amina, it is about her." The words cracked like thunder. "A blind girl? A foreigner? Do you think this is how the heir to Kang Group should behave?" Hyunwoo clenched his fists. "She's more than what you see. She's kind, brilliant, and—" "Enough!" Chairman Kang slammed his palm against the desk. The sound rattled the glass of water beside him. "You are my son. You will not throw away everything I've built for some passing charity case. The silence stretched heavy between them. Hyunwoo's chest burned with fury, but he forced his voice steady. I'm not ashamed of her, and nothing you say will change that. Chairman Kang's eyes narrowed, calculating and dangerous. Then perhaps I've been too lenient with you. If you will not end this, I will. Hyunwoo froze. For the first time, he saw not just a father, but an enemy. The next morning, Amina sat quietly in the garden, her fingers brushing against the petals of the roses Hyunwoo had planted for her. The breeze carried the faint scent of lavender, soothing her nerves after the tension she'd felt in the house. She didn't hear the footsteps until they were close. Chairman Kang's voice, smooth as silk yet laced with venom, cut through the calm. Amina, he said, each syllable deliberate. You seem to enjoy our home. Her heart jumped. She stood carefully, hands clasped in front of her. Good morning, sir. He circled her like a predator, his shoes crunching lightly against the gravel. Tell me, do you truly believe you belong here? With my son? In this world? Amina's throat tightened. She forced a smile, though she couldn't see the ice in his eyes. I love Hyunwoo. That's all I know. Chairman Kang's lips curled faintly. Love! He let the word linger before leaning closer. Do you think love will protect you when society spits on your name? When every door slams shut in your face because of what you are? Amina flinched. His tone was calm, but the cruelty behind it sliced deeper than a shout. You'll destroy him, he continued softly, almost kindly. If you care for Hyunwoo at all, leave before you ruin his future. Her fingers trembled against the folds of her dress. She wanted to speak, to fight back, but the poison of his words had already begun to sink into her heart. Amina sat alone in her room, the blinds drawn, her chest heavy with the weight of Chairman Kang's words. His voice kept echoing in her mind. If you care for him at all, leave. Her hands twisted the edge of the blanket as if holding on for strength. For the first time, doubt crawled into her heart. Was she truly ruining Hyunwoo's life by staying? A soft knock broke her thoughts. Amina! Hyunwoo's gentle voice came from the door. She quickly wiped her eyes, but her trembling betrayed her. I'm fine, she whispered. Hyunwoo stepped inside anyway. He froze when he saw her pale face and the redness around her eyes. He knelt beside her, his hands cupping hers. No, you're not fine. Tell me who hurt you. Amina's lips parted, but no words came. She didn't want to pit him against his father. She shook her head, but tears betrayed her silence. Hyunwoo's jaw tightened. It was him, wasn't it? My father. Her breath hitched. Hyunwoo's voice trembled, not with fear, but with rage and sorrow. I won't let him do this to you. To us, Amina clutched his sleeve. Please, don't fight him. He's your father. I don't want to be the reason. Hyunwoo silenced her with a fierce grip of her hand. His eyes glistened with determination. You are never the reason, Amina. You are the only thing that makes my life worth fighting for. But outside the door, Chairman Kang had overheard every word. The heavy doors of the Kang estate slammed shut, echoing like a final verdict. Hyunwoo stood tall in the vast hall, his heart hammering, his fists clenched at his sides. Across the room, Chairman Kang sat in his armchair like a judge on his throne, eyes sharp, lips curled in disdain. You will end this nonsense, Hyunwoo, his father thundered, his cane striking the marble floor. You are a Kang. You don't belong with her. Hyunwoo's jaw tightened. Her, as if Amina didn't even deserve a name. His mind raced with every memory, the laughter she carried despite her blindness, the courage in her voice, the way her hands had clung to his when the world turned cruel. I love her, Hyunwoo said at last, his voice shaking, but growing stronger with every word. I will never leave her, no matter what you say. Chairman Kang rose, fury twisting his face. Love! Foolishness! Do you not see what this will do to our family's name? A blind girl, foreign, with nothing. How dare you shame us? But Hyunwoo stepped closer, fire blazing in his eyes. You taught me to fight for power, but she taught me to fight for love, and that is something you will never understand. The silence cracked like glass. For the first time, the mighty Chairman Kang had no words. Behind the wall, Amina pressed her hand to her lips, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. She had never heard anyone fight for her like this. Months passed like fleeting shadows. Amina sat quietly by the hospital window, her world still wrapped in darkness, but her heart was filled with hope. Hyunwoo had promised her a miracle, an operation that could change everything. "Are you ready?" His voice came softly, steady and warm. She nodded, trusting the hands that had never once let her fall. The surgery was long, filled with silence and prayers. When it was finally over, Amina's eyes fluttered open beneath the bandages. For the first time, light pressed against her eyelids. Her breath caught. Hyunwoo's fingers brushed hers. "Take your time," he whispered. The bandages slipped away, and blurry shapes sharpened into clarity. The world exploded into color. White walls, the glint of light, and finally his face. Her lips parted in awe. "Hyunwoo, you're—" Her voice broke into tears. She had imagined him countless times, but nothing compared to the reality. The kindness in his eyes, the strength in his smile. He cupped her face gently. "Now you can truly see me, Amina. And know I meant it when I said I would never leave you." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she threw her arms around him. The boy who once held her hand in the darkness now stood as the man who had brought her light. For the first time in her life, Amina didn't just hear love, she saw it. And it was more beautiful than she had ever dreamed. The moral lesson of this story is that true love sees beyond appearances, challenges, or limitations. It heals, it waits, and it never gives up.